Hi guys, welcome to Entertainment. On this brand new episode, we are going to be checking out the importance of working on the productivity-based pay. Now, you only get paid for two things in the whole world. The first thing you get paid for is the amount of time you give a company in return for the amount they pay you. That's called a salary. Now, the next thing you get paid for is something called your production, your productivity. Right? Now, that comes in three forms. The first form you get paid is a commission. The second form is a brokerage, and the third form is usually called profit sharing. On this video, we are going to be checking out why being paid on production is way better than earning a salary. Point number one, why I would prefer being paid on production and not salary is simply because of the growth. Let's look at time. All right, let's assume I'm working on a salary. Now, when I'm working on a salary, I'm being paid for the number of hours I'm giving a company for a week, for a month, and for a year. Now, time is usually constant. 1 week today is still 7 days. 1 week next year still going to be 7 days. The 1 week 3 years later still going to be 7 days. Time is a constant factor. That means your pay will also remain constant. Usually a salary increment is only between 10 to 15% on an annual basis. But if you fail to realize, inflation in India rises by 10% as well. And that's exactly why we don't really feel we are making more money. Let me share with you guys the interesting facts about being paid for your production, not being paid for your time. When you're paid for your production, you're being paid for your skills, you're being paid for your effort, and you're being paid for your knowledge. Now, you can actively put in effort and increase these three things. That means you can actively increase your income at your own will. That gives you a direct control over the income that you're making, and that's why I would always recommend you to be paid for your production and not accept being paid for your time. Second aspect about this video, which is the amount of freedom you have when you either work for your time or you either work for your production. Let's assume I'm being paid for my time. Now, when I'm being paid for my time, I'm gaining a salary. Now, a salary which I draw is not something that I get to decide. It's not something you get to decide. It's something that the HR of the company decides. It's something that the senior management or the CFO decides. Now, clearly the fact is, when you and me don't have a control over how much we get paid, what happens? We are dependent. We're dependent on the people, assuming the HR. She decides how fast I grow. She decides when I get my next promotion. Indirectly, she decides when I increase my lifestyle. She decides the clothes my girlfriend wears. She decides the clothes I wear. She decides the life my mom has, and she decides the life I have. She decides the car I buy. She decides the house I buy. She basically decides my entire life. Third aspect that I'm going to share with you about this video is the element of risk. Now, this is one of the most interesting topics that I like talking about, because a lot of people argue with me about salaries being a very, very secured mode of payment, and commissions and brokerage being a very risky mode of payment. And I beg to differ. I completely disagree on this statement. Let me talk to you guys about salary being a very, very risky mode of being paid. Let's talk about being paid a fixed salary at the end of the month. Assuming for 30 days I get paid so much XYZ amount of money. That means if this is my income, that means I'm not going to go below this level. That means I'm not going to earn less money than this. And for most people, that eliminates the risk. But why is it risky for me is because I won't make more money than this. That's the maximum money I can make. I can't make more money than the prescribed salary that I have. And that's why I feel I don't have the power to increase my income, and that's why I feel being paid a salary is very, very risky. At the same time, the element of risk is not only dependent on me. The element of risk also is, what if my company shuts down? Right? Then what? We all saw what happened to Kingfisher. Right? We all saw the life which Amalia is leading and the life the Kingfisher ex-employees are leading. Classic example. But on the other hand, when you are being paid for a production, the pay that you get completely depends in your hands. Completely depends on the effort, skill, and knowledge you possess. And you have an active chance to increase your income on a regular basis. At the same time, you're being paid for your effort. And if we don't have confidence in ourselves, then we won't be paid anywhere. Whether we are paid for time or we are paid for a production, you need to have confidence in yourself to be making good money at the end of the day. The next thing I'd like to share with you guys on this video is the element of development. Now, development in our personal self is one of the most important things that keep us going. Right? When we can do things that we couldn't do earlier, we are very, very happy. When we develop a new skill, we are very, very happy. The time that we actually feel sluggish is when we've not learned anything new and when we can't do anything new, and we tend to feel behind others when we see others gaining more skills than us. Right? And that's why it's very important to keep improving ourselves on a regular basis. If you don't improve yourself, you'll definitely see your competitor exceeding your limits. And that will basically put you behind others. And that's why if you want to be at par with others, or if you want to be leading others, you need to be improving yourself on a regular basis. Now let's check out what helps us improve more. Your personal development honestly completely depends on your personal self-motivation. Right? If you want to improve, you've got to be motivated to improve. But when you're working for your production, when you're being paid for your production, you're forced to improve, because if you don't improve, you're not going to be paid. When you're being paid for your time in return for the company, you're only going to improve to the inch that the company wants you to improve. You're only going to develop yourself till the limit that the company is ready to pay for it. Right? And that's exactly why your self-development aspect is a little limited when you're offering to give your time in return for the money. At the same time, when you offer to give your production and your skills in terms for the money, you are automatically forced to improve. And over a period of time, you do basically understand how you improve as a human being and how happy a life you do lead eventually. The dangers about working for a time in return for the pay is mostly that often we don't really enjoy and develop the skills that we want to develop. We are forced to develop the skills that the company wants us to develop, and that's our limitation. And that's exactly why I would basically recommend and help everybody and want everybody to be offering their production and their skills in return for the money they make. This is what India has to move towards. If you can basically be in more control of the money you make, you are going to lead a happier life. So let's go, guys, with the last and final point of this particular video, and the most influencing point is the point of choices. Choices mean everything to us. The more choices we have, the richer and happier we feel. The lesser choices we have, the more disappointed and poorer we feel. Let's look at how can a mode of payment decide how many choices we have. Imagine I'm working for my time. Imagine I'm giving my time in return for my pay. Now, a pay that's usually called a salary, which is usually defined by CTC, which is measured on an annual basis. A CTC can increase from 3 lakhs to 5 crores. Whatever your CTC is, let's see how does it limit our thoughts. Let's imagine my CTC for this particular year is 10 lakh rupees. That means this year the maximum amount of money I can make is 10 lakhs. That means the maximum amount of thoughts that I can have is worth 10 lakhs. I can't think beyond 10 lakhs. I can't think of buying something for 10 lakhs. I can't think of purchasing something beyond 10 lakhs. I can't think of starting a company and investing more than 10 lakhs. I can't think of going for a holiday that costs more than 10 lakhs. I can't think beyond my CTC. My thoughts are limited to the amount of CTC I have been designated. At the same time, if I'm being paid for my production, if I'm giving my skills in return for the money I make, I have unlimited thoughts. Because I don't have a cap of money I can make. I might not make 20, 30, 50, 60, 70, 80 lakhs. I might not make the 50, 60 crores. But I have the freedom to think. I have the freedom to imagine. I have the freedom to think. You might not realize how powerful this tool is. But if you can think big, you can achieve big. And that's one thing which you can't do when you're working on a salary, is think big, because your income is not in your hands.